Today, I wanted to hop on to talk to you about ethical and sustainable use of essential oils. So, a lot of us think that because a substance is natural, that it's totally fine to use as much as possible whenever possible. And while that is true for certain things, even the most natural substance that there is that, supports our body in many ways, such as water, in excess can actually be harmful for us. The thing with essential oils is that you actually can get too much essential oil in your body. You can have a buildup of essential oil in your body. People that have been using them excessively and long term can begin to have reactions to them, just like any other chemical compound. So though these chemical compounds are natural, they are from plants, they are still chemicals, they do still build up in the body. And for those individuals such as massage therapists, aromatherapists, other people, perhaps you sell essential oils or using a lot of them, what you may not realize is that if your liver is compromised, if your system of elimination is compromised, those compounds can over time build up in your body. And in fact, I've worked with several massage therapists who have been using essential oils on a daily basis all day long for many years and have become reactive to them to the point where they can't even be in the same room as an essential oil that's being diffused. So just because it's natural doesn't mean that it should be used to excess. And if we think about essential oils and what essential oils are, they are the immune system of plants. They are meant to send out information to invaders that should not be bothering that plant, or the other function that they have is to be attractant to pollinators. When we go out in nature, we smell the conifers, we smell the flowers. We're smelling a very small amount of essential oil that's essentially naturally diffused into the air. Now, when we begin to concentrate an essential oil via distillation, what we have done is we have created a substance that is highly, highly potent. So it is natural, yes, in that it comes from a plant, but what's kind of unnatural about it is how we've concentrated it down, which is one of the reasons why dilution is so important when you use essential oils. Our bodies are just not adapted to using a whole bunch of this substance that's so concentrated all the time. Just like you wouldn't go and take a bunch of aspirin just because the aspirin might help with your headache or something like that. You wouldn't just go use a bunch of essential oil without having a really good reason for doing so. So for those of you that are in fields where you are using essential oils on a regular basis, what I would recommend to you is to make sure that you give your body a break from that once in a while. For instance, for myself, as an aromatherapist, I actually don't use essential oils every single day. I give my body a break from them. And what I've learned to do is tune into my body and listen to what my body's needing for being supported on any given day. And sometimes what I need to do is just go outside and get some fresh air. I don't necessarily need to have the diffuser going all of the time. And I use the diffuser and the essential oil then for very specific reasons and very specific purposes. The other reason that we want to think about not excessively using essential oils is that it takes a very, very large amount of plant material in order to create even just one drop of essential oil. So it takes 2 tons of roses. What? Yes, 2 tons of roses to create 1 drop of rose essential oil. For something like lavender that we think is very common, that we use all the time, it still takes 150 pounds of lavender buds to make the essential oil that we're using. So we want to think about how much land and how many resources are being used to produce this very precious, very concentrated substance. And then we want to think about if everybody that's using essential oils is using them to excess, and as the market grows for essential oils, we have more and more people using them, what kind of strain is this putting on our natural resources? What kind of strain is this putting on our land? This is something that needs to be used respectfully and intelligently and with reverence, in my opinion. And one way you can modulate this for yourself is, instead of always reaching for the essential oil, try the herb form of the plant first if it's something that you use a lot. So instead of always, diffusing peppermint, maybe try making some peppermint tea for yourself once in a while. Instead of always diffusing lemon, maybe just put some lemon slices in your water and begin to figure out how you can use the whole food or the herbal forms of the same plant to get a lot of the same benefits. And that way you can sort of layer on the effects. And when you do use the essential oil, then it's going to be because you know that you need a little bit more support, or you're just kind of craving that right now, but maybe it's not something that you're reaching for all the time. Herbs, we need a lot less of the herb in order to get the results internally in the body. And herbs versus essential oils is usually that the herb is going to have maybe not as potent of an impact immediately, but a longer term effect for you. Whereas an essential oil will help get you out of a bind in an acute situation, but it's not going to have a long lasting effect. So use the herb form first. And the last recommendation that I have for you when it comes to sustainable, ethical, and healthy use of essential oils is always make sure that where you're sourcing your essential oils from is ethical, is pure, but more than that, that these companies are committed to sustainable practices, that they're making sure that the distillers are being paid a living wage, that they're making sure that the land that the plant is coming from is being taken care of. And there's a couple of companies, actually 3 companies that I love to use that I know are very committed to those practices. One is Mountain Rose Herbs, another is Floricopia, and a third is Isogenics. So those are the 3 main places that I source from. There's many other companies that I source from, and I don't really like to have the argument over whose company is better. What I'm saying is whatever company you're using, if you think about the long-term impact of the massive amounts of plant material that's needed, it's really our responsibility to make sure that the companies that we're sourcing our essential oils from are producing them ethically and have a long-term view in mind for how we can sustain this market, which is very important because if you're listening to this, you probably have been helped by essential oils and you know how important it is to have these substances available. So if we want them to be available long-term, we need to make sure we're using them healthfully for ourselves, and then secondly, that we're using them healthfully for our Mother Earth. So that is what I have for you today.